The girls were looking through a photo album and laughing at their memories. Sisters Christina and Alina were recalling the happiest moments. But suddenly, Christina's eyes fell on a photo of a handsome young man, causing her to make a painful grimace. She quickly slammed the album shut and even pushed it away. The unfortunate picture slipped out from between the pages and gently fell to the floor. Alina looked at the photo and involuntarily said aloud, "Dennis?" The young man in the photo was smiling, holding a bouquet of tulips. Not long ago, this photograph would have made Alina smile warmly, but now it brought only bitter tears. That spring had been special. Alina loved her chosen profession as a designer, and at the university, they had formed a tight-knit group of friends who shared similar ideas. But even more significant, she had met her love. Denny was the life of the group, and only he could organize daily surprises for her. She was always afraid to believe in her own happiness. Could it be that the boy from her dreams was really so in love with her? Alina held a huge bouquet of tulips and smiled. Hidden between the delicate flowers was a note that shocked the girl. Dennis had written that everything was arranged and tomorrow they would fly in a hot air balloon. It was a childhood dream of Alina's. When they were younger, she and her sister would often pretend to take a trip in a hot air balloon, climbing into a large box. "I have to tell Christina. She'll be so happy," Alina thought. Christina was initially happy when she heard about the hot air balloon trip, thinking she would go with Alina. But when she found out it was meant for only the two lovers, she noticeably became sulky and pouted. Alina didn't notice that she and her sister were rapidly growing apart. Lately, Alina had been trying to spend all her time with her boyfriend. They traveled a lot, went hiking, and often walked together. And the day she received her diploma was so memorable and festive. Denis, who, in front of everyone, proposed to her, made her feel like the luckiest girl in the world. Everyone envied her, but Alina, with tears of happiness, nervously said, "Yes!" Her mother was overjoyed, but Christina, for some reason, seemed skeptical. Soon they got married. The traditional wedding ceremony was complete. Denny was nervous and eager, but finally everything was over. And Alina had a new ring on her finger. After the wedding festivities, Denny and Alina went on a trip, and they were completely happy. When they returned, the young couple dove into adult responsibilities. Dennis got a job at a furniture factory. He worked hard and was a very responsible employee, but even at home he couldn't escape thoughts of work. At first, Alina forgave him for being so absorbed in his job, but soon he began to ignore her more and more. He even forgot about the tickets they had bought for a concert of her favorite band, only recalling them on the way home. He was surprised to find missed calls from his wife, and at home, they nearly argued for the first time. Alina cried and told her husband that it seemed like he was tired of her, that he had forgotten everything so easily. Denny sincerely apologized and promised to improve. The next day, Alina was leaving for a business trip. When Denny was already at work, she went to the kitchen and saw a huge bouquet of flowers, delicious croissants, and a note with apologies. When Alina returned from her business trip 2 days earlier, she rushed home to prepare a festive dinner and surprise her husband. She opened the door and froze on the threshold, hearing her mother's loud voice. Her mother was scolding Denis, accusing him of seducing a young girl. Alina stared at her mother in confusion and asked her to explain what had happened. Her mother abruptly declared that Denny had been having an affair with Christina and that she was now expecting a child from him. Alina froze. Dennis fell to his knees in front of his wife, desperately explaining that Christina had always been in love with him, but he had always remained faithful to her. But Alina couldn't understand what he was saying. The horrifying news weighed heavily on her. Then, she pointed to the door and told him to leave her life. Dennis was in shock. She had never spoken to him like that. He tried to explain himself, but Alina refused to listen. After he left, her mother continued to lament. unable to imagine how they would continue their lives. Alina sat, staring vacantly at the very bouquet that her husband had given her before her business trip. How had her life turned out like this? Then Alina had a conversation with her sister. Christina avoided looking her in the eye and couldn't explain when or where she and Denny had met. But she repeatedly insisted, "That bastard has been after me for a long time. He is a real monster." Alina couldn't get any more details from her sister. Dennis tried to explain himself and waited for her by the entrance, but Alina refused to hear him out. Soon, Christina's relationship with their mother began to deteriorate rapidly. Christina didn't want the child and hoped to get rid of it, but their mother insisted she keep it, warning her that abortion would be a sin. Alina often overheard their quarrels and fell deeper into a state of endless nightmare. The worst part was that she couldn't talk to anyone about it. She used to confide in her mother or sister, but now there was no one. Then she remembered an old friend and arranged to meet her. They met at a cafe, and the friend suggested that Alina tell her story openly. Alina burst into tears and told her everything that had happened. Her friend thought for a moment and said that a person as low as Denis would never try so hard to explain things to Alina. This made Alina think, how could this be? I always trusted my sister, and why would she try to ruin my life? But despite her doubts, a seed of suspicion started to grow in her heart. Eventually, Christina was convinced to keep the child because the doctors warned that terminating the pregnancy could lead to infertility. When the baby was born, Alina sent Denis a message saying that they had a daughter. He immediately replied, urging her to take a DNA test. He insisted that the child wasn't his. Alina discussed it with her mother, and they both agreed that a DNA test was necessary. They could use the results to demand child support. Christina was completely against it, but their mother and Alina insisted. The results of the DNA test shocked everyone. It turned out that Denise had been telling the truth. Then Alina demanded that Christina finally tell them everything. It turned out that Christina had been feeling jealous because her sister was growing distant, and Dennis was now her #1 priority. Christina hadn't even noticed that, out of this jealousy, a new feeling for Denny had developed. She began bombarding him with messages and confessions, but he rejected every attempt to get closer, declaring that he only had one woman, his wife. Christina couldn't accept this and decided to take revenge on the stubborn man. When she found out about her accidental pregnancy from a classmate, she decided to use it as a weapon to accuse Denis. She had no intention of keeping the child, planning to terminate the pregnancy, but her goal was to make her sister divorce him and make Denis miserable. Moreover, she was sure no one would find out the truth. Even when she was forced to have the baby, she was convinced that Alina would leave Denise for good. After revealing all of this, Christina broke down in tears and begged her sister for forgiveness. Alina turned away and ran out of the room. She rushed to her beloved husband, hoping he would find the strength to forgive her. How could she have doubted him? Time passed, and Alina and Dennis lived happily together, while Christina raised her daughter, never giving up hope that one day her older sister would forgive her. Thank you for being with me. Subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new and interesting stories. See you again soon.